So one of the most frustrating things that I have witnessed as far as working with children, especially young toddlers, is that moment of plateau. So what I mean by that is there comes a point typically when the child is making a lot of progress and the parents are seeing a lot of gains, and then all of a sudden the progress just kind of either stops or completely slows down. And that can be very frustrating for parents. And if you are a therapist out there, let's say for example, you work in early intervention and you've been working with a child for a while and you're just not seeing progress, that can also be frustrating for you as well. And trust me, I've been there, done that before. And so in this video, I want to talk to you about what does it mean when a child stops making progress or when progress slows down, and also what can you do about it? So before we dive into what you can do about it, I just want to let you all know that sometimes progress slowing down is a part of that child's developmental process. Sometimes it can be very typical for a child to be making gains and making progress, and then the progress just kind of slows down for a little bit. Plateaus happen for almost every child, and that does not mean that something is wrong with them or something is wrong with you as the parent or the caregiver in their life. One of the main reasons why a child may have progress that is slowing down or progress that has seemed to stop is simply because their brain and their body just needs a little bit more time to catch up. When a child is developing, especially in that 0 to 3 years old range, this is when the body and the brain is like rapid fire. They are learning so many new skills all at the same time, and there is just a lot of things going on in their brain every single second of the day. And sometimes it comes to a point where one part of development like takes off completely while the other part of development completely stops or slows down. So I'll give you an example. Sometimes a child may take off with their ability to do all those big gross motor skills, right? They start rolling and they're sitting and they're starting to pull to stand and now they're walking, and then all of a sudden the parents are not hearing a lot of language. And they're like, wait a minute, I'm not hearing any words come out of my child's mouth. And that could simply be because all of that brain energy that your child has all gone to that child's gross motor skills. It's gone to them being able to crawl and roll and sit up and pull to stand and walk. And that takes a lot of brain power. So once that child is more confident and that walking, for example, becomes like second nature, then the brain can start to use some of that energy in another area, such as that language component. Another reason why a child's progress may hit a plateau or may slow down or completely stop is that sometimes development is just not linear, right? That means that you won't always see their development going completely up on a slope, right? Sometimes it'll go up and then it'll pause. And then it'll go up and then it'll pause. And then it'll go up and then it'll pause, right? So instead of it being like a straight line, sometimes it's like a zigzag or going up a stair ladder when it comes to your child's development. Another reason why your child's progress may slow down or come to a plateau is their environment may change, or different stressors in the home environment may also slow down a child's progress. So let's say, for example, you are moving to a new home, right? And that child has grown up in that home for the past 2 years, but now you're moving to a new home. Sometimes it takes a little bit of adjustment for their brains and bodies to make that connection that they are completely somewhere new. And sometimes that is going to be an adjustment for their development as well. Or on the other hand, sometimes there may be stressors within the family dynamic that may be causing that child's progress to slow down. So let's say, for example, the parents may be going through a divorce, or maybe mom and dad have a new stressful job, or maybe mom just gave birth to a new baby, right? There could be so many different things going on in the home environment. And sometimes, I won't even say sometimes, most of the time, children pick up on these changes, even if they're very subtle changes. And another reason why your child's progress may have slowed down completely or may have come to a stop is the possibility that they may be experiencing some type of medical condition, or may be experiencing or showing some indicators of a medical diagnosis of some sort. So now that you know some of the reasons why a child's progress may be plateauing or why their progress may stop for a little bit, let's talk about what you can do if you actually notice this happening. So one of my favorite things to recommend, no matter if I'm talking to parents or if I'm talking to other therapists, is to focus on the positive, right? I want you guys to get in the habit of shifting your mindset and not only focusing all the time on what the child is not doing, what they are not achieving, what areas they're not making progress in. And even though, yes, those things are important, I want you to also really be mindful and insightful about the small wins. Maybe the child is not talking yet, but maybe the child has a really great bond and attachment with you. Or maybe that child is not walking yet, but maybe that child does really well with playing with toys and playing with others. So really just pick up on those small wins and make sure you're keeping those things at the forefront of your brain just as much as you're keeping track of those things that maybe are just not caught up for your child just yet. Another thing that you can do if you are noticing that the child has hit a plateau with their progress is to try changing things up a little bit in how you work on a certain skill. Now, this is more so, especially for my therapists out there. Let's say, for example, you are working with a child and you're trying to work on their attention, right? And so you're doing all the things and you just can't seem to capture that child's joint attention. So maybe one thing that you can do, instead of always doing like your sessions in the living room, maybe today you're gonna do your session outside in the backyard and see if that switches things up, or if that switches on a light bulb for that child. So sometimes it's all about just changing up the routine or changing how you address a certain skill. That may be the catalyst to what that child needs to start working on the development of that skill where they may be a little bit more delayed. The third thing that you can do if you are noticing that your child is having some delay with their progress is to really emphasize that connection with that child and that relationship with that child over that skill that you are trying to work on with the child. Now, obviously both are very important, but sometimes that connection piece and that relationship piece with that child is going to really be that foundational piece for them learning new skills. So if your child has a really good connection with you, or if you're a therapist and you are working with a child but they don't have the best connection with you, sometimes it's going to be a little bit harder for that child to pick up on whatever skills you're teaching them, because you don't even have a good rapport or a good relationship or a good connection with that child. So instead of just focusing on skill, focus on connecting, right? Being present with that child, being silly with that child, tapping into the interests of that child, what motivates that child, right? So we're looking at that child as an individual, not just a machine that needs to check off all these boxes. The fourth thing that you can do if you are noticing that your child's progress is a little delayed or has come to a stop is to bring in support as soon as possible. So let's say, for example, your child is between 0 to 3. One of the best things you can do is contact your state's early intervention program to see if they can get an assessment or an evaluation, and that will let you know what services they may qualify for. Now, if they are older than 3, let's say they are elementary school aged and older, you can also either contact the school district to see if they can do like an IEP, like evaluation for your child. You can also contact local clinics to see if they have any openings to do evaluations for your child as well. So overall, moral of the story is get support as soon as you can, because the earlier your child can get those supports, the better the outcome is going to be. Also, with that being said, do not isolate yourself if you are noticing that your child is having this sort of delay, right? Like I said, you can reach out for help or connect with other parents or find support groups that maybe you can ask a few questions to. And therapists, if you are working with the child and you are noticing a plateau in their progress, maybe try reaching out to other colleagues or even other therapists that are on that child's team to see if you guys can come up with a collaborative approach to helping that child make the necessary progress. So I hope this video was helpful and really just helping you all to understand that sometimes plateaus happen. Sometimes a child does stop making progress, and sometimes it could just be that's a part of that child's developmental journey. Remember, every child develops at their own pace, but if you are very concerned and you're noticing delays more significantly than you think it should be, like I said, reach out for the support that you need. So let me know if you have any questions or comments below, and I can't wait to see you all in the next video. Until then, bye.